My friends and I were in the backyard blasting my older brother's exclusive Nerf blaster when he ripped it out of my hands and shoved me like he always does. "You're too much of a baby to even hold this. Get your loser friends out of here. I'm telling Mom you stole it." My friend's faces dropped, so I yelled, "I'm not a baby. I can shoot better than you." He smirked and pointed at a tiny can on the fence across the yard. "Fine, hit that in one shot and you can keep the blaster. Miss, and your friends are banned for good." And I'm telling Mom. He tossed me the blaster, laughing, because he knew I'd never made a shot like that in my life. My friends gathered behind me, hyping me up as I raised the blaster and lined up the tiny can across the yard. I took a slow breath and steadied my aim, dead on it, and I smiled, knowing I was finally about to prove him wrong. But the second my finger squeezed the trigger, my brother shoved me hard in the back, and the dart flew way off to the side, sailing toward the fence. He burst out laughing as I hit the dirt. "You're pathetic. I knew a little baby like you couldn't do it." My friends erupted, screaming that he cheated, but he didn't care. He just cupped his hands and yelled for Mom while waving them off. "Get out of here. You're all banned losers." Then he ripped the blaster out of my hands and leaned down over me. "You'll never prove me wrong." But then one of my friends started jumping up and down, screaming, "He's a goat! He's the goat!" My brother smirked and puffed out his chest. "Yeah, I know I am." "Not you, you idiot, your brother." My brother spun around and his face went pale. My dart had ricocheted off the fence post and stuck dead center on the can. His own shove is what landed the shot. "That doesn't count." Right then the back door opened and Mom came out. "Someone called me." My brother opened his mouth, but I stood up and pointed at him. He shoved me on the ground and called all my friends losers. Mom marched over, grabbed him by the ear, and dragged him inside, grounding him as he flailed his arms and cried. I turned to my friends and held out the blaster. Turns out I only needed one shot to prove him wrong. My friends and the teacher handed me back a test with F- written in bright red ink. I couldn't believe it. I had stayed up the entire night before, studying until I literally passed out. I looked over at my best friend Jackson's test, A plus 100% correct answers. I asked him if I could compare my answers with his to see where I messed up. We had the same answer for the first question. Must be some mistake, but I kept going down the list. Jackson and I answered every single question exactly the same way. This didn't make any sense. Just to be sure, I even used my smart glasses to scan both tests. They were identical. I walked up to the teacher and asked for an answer. The math teacher, Mr. Maloney, sat behind his desk, already looking unhappy to see me. He looked down at the two papers in front of him, then looked up at me with an evil grin and poured his water bottle out onto the papers. The ink bled and the paper started to fall apart. "What? Why did you do that?" "Unfortunately for you, the grades have already been recorded and now you have no proof. Now sit down. I'll speak to you after class." I took my seat and waited for class to end with no idea what just happened or what was going to happen. The bell rang and the rest of the class left, leaving just me and Mr. Maloney. "Sir, what's going on here?" He walked over and pounded his fist into my desk. I shot back in my chair. My glasses almost fell off of my face. I caught them before they hit the floor and shattered. He leaned in inches from my face. "I'll tell you what's going on here, you little know-it-all. You're bringing the test score average up too high in this class. If the class scores low, I get more money in classroom funds. You're messing up my bag." He walked over to his desk. I adjusted my glasses as they slid down my nose. As I said, "Yes, you may have answered everything correctly, but the grades have been entered and you have no proof, so there's nothing you can do about it. See you tomorrow." I pulled my glasses off and thought of how to get revenge. The next day, I made sure I was the first one in the classroom. Mr. Maloney began giving his lesson at the smartboard. When someone knocked on the door, it was the principal. "Mr. Maloney, I found this note directing me to come to your class during first period." "What? I didn't leave you any note." Just then, the smartboard cut to a video of Mr. Maloney's rampage from yesterday. "What is the meaning of this?" I stood up and looked Mr. Maloney dead in the eye. "You thought you could do whatever you wanted to me because you destroyed the proof. I guess you don't know smart glasses when you see them. I started recording as soon as I fell back in my chair, so you gave me all the proof I need." Mr. Maloney was fired and banned from teaching ever again. My A+ was restored, and I ended the year with a 4.0. I couldn't believe my eyes when I went to grab a towel from the closet. Instead of finding fresh linens, I found a full-grown circus clown tied up and gagged. This didn't make any sense. His face was painted exactly like the clown who was outside at this very moment performing for my birthday. I pulled the gag down from his mouth. He shouted at me, "You have to untie me right now. Everyone at your birthday party is in danger of being killed." I didn't know what to make of this situation, but I grabbed a pair of scissors from a side table by the door and cut his restraints. "Come on," he said. "We don't don't have much time. As we were running for the back door, the clown tried his best to bring me up to speed. His brother had just escaped from a mental hospital after he cuffed me in that closet. Your friends are in real danger. When we got to the backyard, the killer clown had my sister in a box and announced, "For my next trick, I will saw this little girl in half." The crowd looked on with amazement, thinking it was only a trick. "Stop right now. I know who you really are, clown. You're not hurting anyone." The killer clown leapt forward to attack me with the saw. Just then, his brother, with all the skill of a real professional clown, whipped a pie at the impersonator's face, leaving an imprint in the pie tin on impact. Once he was down, I grabbed the bat from next to the piñata and gave each of his legs a hard whack. "You're not going anywhere." The real clown made handcuffs out of a balloon animal and restrained the killer. The impersonator was sent back to the asylum, and the real birthday clown got a 5-star review. I Uber and got inside, but then we stopped at the first red light, and the door immediately swung open. A woman I'd never seen dropped into the seat beside me and screamed at the driver, "Admit you're kidnapping this child." My blood froze because I'd driven hundreds of times and this has never happened. My driver shook his head, but she pulled back her jacket and flashed a pistol. "I know you're kidnapping him. Now drive us to the police station." I gripped my seat in horror because I always checked the car's plates before getting in and knew this man was my driver. My hands shook as I showed her my Uber app. "He's my driver, ma'am. This is his Toyota." But she wouldn't even look at it and just pulled me into her chest while we drove. "It's okay, honey. I'm gonna get you out of this." I saw the driver's hands shake and he muttered something to himself as we turned off course. I remember putting my phone between my legs and texting 911, but she yanked it from my hands as I was about to hit send. I screamed, "What are you doing?" But she chucked it out the window. I watched my last hope hit the pavement. She said, "You can buy a new phone. You can't buy a new life." Then pressed her pistol into the driver's hip and screamed at him, "To the station, now." We pulled into the police station, and I almost cried with relief. A cop saw the woman's gun and instantly drew his own firearm at her. He wrenched my door open and I fell out, talking faster than I ever had. "She's insane. She thinks my Uber driver is kidnapping me." The driver immediately got out with his hands up. "Officer, this woman is crazy." The cop told him, "Open your trip, now." The driver swiped his phone and held it out, and I saw the ride right there with my name on it. But then the cop looked closer. He zoomed in on his screen. "Wait, that driver doesn't look like you." My eyes went wide in shock, and when I looked closer, I realized the driver's nose didn't match his picture. The cop instantly tackled him into the pavement, and that's when we heard it, a faint grunt coming from the trunk. Another cop popped the trunk, and my knees buckled because a man was tied up inside, out cold, but breathing. His nose matched perfectly to the picture on the app. I realized this was the real driver. The woman fell to her knees, crying, pointing at him. I knew I recognized him. This man kidnapped my son 2 years ago, pretending to be his Uber. I hugged her, and as I watched him getting cuffed, I realized I was one red light from being like her son.